Good evening, everyone. I'm Diane Kern, and this is...
I'm Sharon Ellis.
And we are here to represent the Nonpartisan Black Voter Guide Project. Okay, so, well, welcome everybody. Okay. All right, we're back. We're here to talk tonight about this very critical upcoming election. Good evening, everyone. I'm Diane Kern, and this is...
And I'm Sharon Ellis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Diane Kern.
And hello, everyone. I'm Sharon Ellis.
And welcome to this evening's program. And we want... All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, we're happy to be here at the very kind invitation of DJ Straight with MLB Radio, Gospel Internet Radio Station. And we are here representing... Good evening, everyone. I'm Diane Kern.
And I'm Sharon Ellis.
And we are here this evening as the special guest in our program tonight with DJ Straight. And thank you, DJ Straight, for giving us this opportunity to discuss our nonpartisan Black Voter Guide project. Karen and I represent an organization called Being Well While Black. And you will see the address, our email address, I'm sorry, not our email, our website address is www.beingwellwhileblack.org. And that's how you can connect with us, and not only connect with us, but find out what we are involved in. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We are very much involved in this current election cycle. Our mission is to help people vote smart, and specifically Black people. And so we're looking, and as you probably notice, or if you can see us, those of you who are able to see us, we are African American, and we are very much concerned about a lot of the disparities and issues that negatively impact our people. Therefore, we have organized our project to address issues that affect every aspect of our lives. And as we know, politics, as they say, politics are local. It begins as local as the school board, as local as the sheriff department, who gets elected sheriff, who gets elected to be the person who makes decisions at your local neighborhood meeting. We have in DC, we have what we call the ANC commissions. It starts there, quite honestly. And many times people who end up running for mayor and other offices actually started at those local neighborhood, serving in that capacity, in those offices, representing small groups of people and then moving on. And that's one of the things that we promote. We want to promote political activism. And because we are concerned about Black concerns, we oftentimes, we make up words, by the way. We have a whole new language of our own. I know Sharon's laughing. We have a term called Blacktivism vote. So what we're talking about is inspiring activism. In other words, acting on our behalf, getting involved with the process, understanding how things work. And part of what we do is educate people around that. We are, promoting education about the process, how things work, how we get things done, and to promote political engagement. In other words, we want folks to recognize that we have power. It's our voting rights, our ability to vote, that equalizes everybody in this country. Everybody who's entitled to vote can vote. And that's a right that we have. And it's a right that's important to protect. And it's important that we respect that, value it, and utilize it. So that's what we're about. And we want to talk about this current election cycle locally. We have 3 teams. We have a DC team. I'm the DC team lead. Sharon is the Prince George's County primary lead. And we also have Valerie Elam Davis, who's the Montgomery County lead. I also want to say that I happen to be wearing 2 hats tonight. Not only am I representing Being Well Wild Black, I'm also representing one of our partner organizations, which is a major supporter, and that's the Greater DC National Action Network. I happen to be the chairperson of the Voter Empowerment Committee there. And that organization has been instrumental in providing us with additional hands and feet, literally, other volunteers who have helped us with our various projects. Right now, before I turn you over to Sharon, I want to talk about what's happening in DC, what we're doing in DC as the DC team lead. We have a nonpartisan Black voter guide for the upcoming DC primary election. And if you don't know, right now we're in the early voting season, which started last Sunday. Thank you, Sharon. That's what it looks like. We're in the early voting season that began last Sunday and will run until this Sunday. And then you'll have a 2-day break, or a day break actually. And then the actual election day for the DC primary will be on Tuesday, June the 4th. And I believe the voting hours are from, I want to say 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. But by all means, please check with the DC Board of Elections, because that is the actual official source of anything related to the elections and voting. And one of the nice things about the District of Columbia is that you can literally register up until the day of the election. So in that sense, the district has been very good about facilitating the vote. So what is the Black voter guide, you asked? Well, I'm glad you asked. The nonpartisan, and let me start with that word first of all, because a lot of people don't necessarily know what that means. And trust me, if you don't feel badly about that. A lot of us are learning as we're going along. This has been a tremendous learning process for me. So the word nonpartisan means that we are not supporting any particular candidate or any particular party. And so therefore, we're not taking a position, and that's officially. Now, personally, of course, I have every right to vote for who I want. That's one thing. And I'm talking about our organization, Being Well Wild Black and the Nonpartisan Black Voter Guide Project. It is nonpartisan because what we want to do is promote everybody's right to vote their choice, to vote their conscience, to vote their mind, to vote for whomever they think will operate in their best interest. So let me give you a little history. What we actually started this whole program before 2022. We were led to recognize that Being Well Wild Black it was important that we addressed a lot of the issues that were negatively impacting us as a people, and that, as we just mentioned, all aspects of our lives are governed by the people who make decisions for us, and in this country, because we have a democracy, those are our elected officials. Again, starting from the ANC commissioners, right on up to the mayor, right on up to the president of the United States. And of course, in this particular election cycle for 2024, we actually this is a presidential election year. But let me get back to the local aspect of this. So in preparation for the 2022 elections, we formed 3 teams, one for Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and Washington, D.C. And we created guides that represented the concerns of Black people who we surveyed. And we surveyed them through questionnaires. We also had what we call community conversations, where we actually talked with people and engaged with people and got feedback about the kinds of issues people wanted to have addressed. And that feedback and input enabled us to create questionnaires that then we presented to the candidates who were running for the primary elections and the general election in 2022. Their responses comprise our guide, people. Basically, when candidates agreed to respond, and in all honesty, unfortunately, not every candidate did agree to participate in the guide. I should say, though, we worked very hard. Our volunteers worked hard to attempt to get people to respond. I know personally that our team issued at least 2 to 3 invitations to people to participate. And Sharon probably the same with Prince George's County. So those people who did participate, they responded to those questions about what would you do about these issues that we're saying are of concern and of priority to Black residents in your jurisdiction. So therefore, those questions also varied across the different jurisdictions. So for instance, living in DC, one issue that is very unique to DC is DC statehood. Those of you, I'm sure most of you do know, the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. is not a state, which means that we do not have a vote in Congress or in the Senate. So therefore, we do not have full representation. We have what we call congressional representative, for instance, Miss Eleanor Holmes Norton, but she does not have an official vote, folks. So that limits us. Also, there's still, even though D.C. has home rule, there's still a degree of oversight that Congress actually has over the district. And so therefore, there are times when there are laws that the district passes that then Congress can turn around and basically override. And we just had that happen very recently. I'm letting you know how important it is that we become more aware of how our process works and that we get involved as a people so we can make things happen. So back in 2022, again, we created a guide for the DC primary as well as the DC general election. And the guides basically do not put any word limit on what the candidates say in their responses. And we also do not make any changes. We literally cut and paste their responses verbatim, which means we don't edit anything, including we don't correct any grammar, we don't shorten any words, we don't shorten what they say. So therefore, our guides are fairly lengthy. I think the guide this year for DC is like 94 pages, 95 pages, and that's kind of similar to the way it was back in 2022. So we're doing the same thing this time around. This is a way for people to find out before you go to the polls, not only who's running, but what those people are at least claiming they're going to do up front. So that informs you going in. And then after the election, it becomes an accountability tool, because now you can literally hold people accountable to what they said they would do, how they would vote, what laws they would propose, what legislation they would propose, what side they would take on certain issues. So now if they get elected, now you can say, councilperson so-and-so, on page 50, you said that you would support more funding for the schools. However, I just heard, on the news that you voted against an increase in the school funding. So that's just an example of what I'm talking about. So that's where we are right now. you have an opportunity in DC. The primary elections have already occurred in the state of Maryland, but you still have that opportunity to get a copy of the guide if you haven't voted yet. So if you haven't voted in early voting and you're planning, like I am, to go out on Tuesday and vote, then make sure you go to our beingwellwhileblack.org website, and then you can find out, you can sign up and find out how to sign up to get your copy of the nonpartisan Black Voter Guide for the DC primary election. Now, on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Sharon White Ellis, our DC, I'm sorry, our Prince George's County lead.
Yes, thank you. And I really appreciate Diane Kern, because she brought me into this project. And when she mentioned it, I was so interested in it, and I could not say no. And then it was being led by for Prince George County by Lynn Clement, I believe, who went on to law school, and then I became the lead or the co-lead. So it's been a pleasure. We all, for the 2022 Black Voter Guide, we, as Diane mentioned, we all followed the same procedures, which was new for me and very interesting. Those community meetings, but more so community conversations. Sometimes people do not want to come out to meetings, so we organized community conversations, and we deliberately, specifically became good listeners. We wanted to hear Black folks' concerns. And interesting enough, a lot of the concerns across the districts were quite similar.
Yeah.
And so the areas of focus, at least for Prince George County, were healthcare, education, economic development, civil rights and social justice, and environment. And Diane, I believe yours were quite similar, and then as well as DC statehood.
Sure, absolutely.
And so, just to let you know that we really went about this in an intelligent way, even coming up with the questions. I want to even share a question, an education question, because I'm an educator. And it says, what robust strategies do you propose to improve the performance of the established academic outcomes for primary, middle, and secondary and vocational schools in Prince George's County to gain lost ground and create a model standard for other minority communities around the country? That's an impactful question that it takes a lot of thought, it takes a lot of concern, and it's letting you know it's holistic, and we really do care about education. Some candidates responded, and we appreciated that. And I was surprised that many candidates did not. So we would put their names, we included their names in the guide, but we had no comments or anything to show by them. Diane mentioned this being an accountability piece, which is so true. So if you gave great suggestions and ideas that we did not alternate or anything, we put everything in there verbatim. We can see if that happened. We can question you, why not? And not accusing, but question, why not? We know a lot of things have happened. Why didn't this happen? Is it on the trajectory to happen? Or are you going to do something better? And I think that we have to show that we're following up, and we have to show that there's accountability, because we have a lot of folks out there, as you know, who don't want to vote this time. They don't want to vote, and we're dealing with that now. This guide was a lot for people who are not voting or wasn't going to vote. It gave them information, and it was a lot for people that do vote and still go to the polls and don't know everyone that's on that ballot. So this gave them that kind of information. The teams, as she mentioned, Diane, thank you. The teams worked very hard. We were volunteers. We worked very hard to pull this off. We made copies to take around to community centers, to a few senior citizen centers, even to libraries, but it was also digital. And she mentioned that you can get a copy, a digital copy on your own by going to our website and giving us information. We can send that to you as well.
Sharon, let me interrupt you if you don't mind, and thank you very much for filling in about the history, as well as also encouraging people to connect with us. I would also like for you in particular, because one of the things that we did a little different, people asked, they said, well, did Maryland do a voter guide this year? And I said, no, they did not do the guide. Well, so far for the primary this year. However, what Maryland did, and Sharon can definitely speak about her participation in this, is the other aspect of this. Voting is critical, folks. That's really the bottom line, and that's the first line, but that's not all. Because election days are, the election period is a cycle. Once the election is over, you've done part of the work. But the other part of the work is staying engaged, staying involved, monitoring what's going on, keeping informed, being aware of what's happening, and then, again, holding people accountable. And that is what the Maryland teams did. This is the work that they did. So, Sharon, would you mind sharing the activism work that the Montgomery County and the Prince George's County teams have been doing this year?
And so, which turned out to be quite different than we expected, in trying to go to conferences and talk to folks, in trying to even coming together to decide what are we going to do next. Diane, you're correct. Our Prince George's County and Montgomery County did not do what you just did for this primary election, but I suspect we will do so for the presidential election. But we're also at this point looking at how do we get those who are saying that they no longer want to vote. And it's making me think harder and harder. It's making us think harder and harder, because this is that serious. Black folks have always historically appreciated voting. We fought for it. We were killed for it. That's and right. Now we have a younger generation that we love. They are our families. They are our friends who are saying adamantly that they're giving up on this, and we can't let that happen. No. So we have to do these kinds of things in terms of going around, talking, meeting with other groups, kind of networking to see what can we do to encourage them. And part of that encouragement, we have to be honest, and we have to say that we'll provide tools like this, like Diane, what you just did, that gives us the information to vote smart. And we have to let them know, I guess, that we will hold them accountable, because people have lost hope.
Yeah. I can't emphasize enough what you just said, Sharon. So thank you for emphasizing the importance of the vote. I want you to talk about, again, the activism that sense, because again, once this election season's over, the answer is not to go back and sit down, folks. It's to stay engaged. And part of one of the things that our organization does, along with the support, again, of Greater DC National Action Network, is to provide education and also teach people how to get engaged. And one of the things that Montgomery County did in particular was to form a Black, and that's why I wanted to make sure I got it right, Black Council on Educational Excellence. And so and Sharon can speak to that, because we were not involved with that, but that is a wonderful, powerful example of activism, because guess what, people? If you do not show up and express your voice, nobody hears you. That's the bottom line. Our vote matters. That's true, and that's huge, and absolutely. But you see, I think that we could get more people to get out and vote if they understood that their voice matters too. In other words, when you show up at meetings, when you let people know that you're not happy about the way things are working out. Let me give a quick example just now. And this is very recent. In fact, it's in the Washington Informer, folks. Those of you who live in DC may be aware that we just went through the budget cycle. Okay. The month of May is the critical month for voting on the DC budget for the next upcoming fiscal year. And many of you probably have heard in the news that a lot of social service programs that affect a lot of us, have been cut. Well, guess what? One of the programs had to do with, and the name of the program is escaping me right now, but this was a program specifically designed for young people. Young people, I hope you're listening, because this pertains to you. This was a program that provides educational funding, college funding for young people, and the city council was considering cutting the budget, which would have meant some of those young people who are currently in school, their education would have been jeopardized. Their ability to stay in school would have been jeopardized. Guess what they did? Now, whether they showed up, they actually went and testified in front of the city council to plead their case, to make sure that people understood the importance of continuing to support their education so that they can help elevate these young people, help prepare these young people to step into responsible positions, to be responsible citizens. And folks, that's one of the issues that we're grappling with right now. A lot of you hear in the news about the crime wave that not just in DC, but across the DMV we've been experiencing, especially with a lot of young people. And one of the complaints on the side of the community that we're hearing is that a lot of these young people, as Sharon just mentioned, are hopeless. A lot of them don't see the point. A lot of them don't have anything to do or don't see the possibility of things getting better. And so one of the answers is to actually provide opportunities, provide resources, give the support. And here was a program that was already in place that was being considered for the chopping block. But thank goodness, due to those young people saying, oh no, this matters, and we need to let people know how important this is, how this is going to help. When we help our young people, folks, we're helping ourselves in the long run. And we're being able to pass the baton, and we can build up our hope and actually create a society that all of us want to live in, and where things can get better. So that's a wonderful example of how powerful our activism is when we step up and take action. So Sharon, I wanted you to talk about some of the activism activities that.
Thank you, and what a great leeway for me. I'm a member of the Leadership Council of the Black Coalition for Excellence in Education. We call it BCEE. And the convener is our very own Valerie Davis. And BCEE is an all-volunteer, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization, and the sole purpose is to promote academic excellence, health and well-being at this point in Montgomery County. Okay. And we seek to support parents and guardians and teachers of our Black students. So we're saying it's Black students, Black and brown students. And to sum it up, our mission is to work with the public school districts to release what we say is the brilliance in Black students. Now, again, right now we're just working with Montgomery County, and if you've been looking at the news and hearing things, a lot of things have been going on in Montgomery County. And a lot of this started because Montgomery County had an anti-racist audit done, and the results of that audit read that there is racism throughout the system. And so they came up with an action plan. We have our action plan, and we're trying to say, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And trust me, they fight us off, they hold back, they say they want to work with us, but they're just maybe not ready to deal with, truth and facts and realism and intelligence and brilliance and all of the above. So we've been working on that level. And then from there, what Valerie and our group did was we came up with a Black Apple ballot where we did give suggestions for the and this is education. So it was for the candidates that were running for the Board of Education seats. And we're seeing how that's being played out as well. So, education is very important. And one of the things when you talk to Black folks in communities, economics is important, social justice, all that, and education is also just held in very high regard. So I am proud to work in the capacity of one of the curriculum leaders. And again, we're just still trying to get things happening and moving, and with all the pushback, we're just not giving up. So I thank you for, Diane, giving me that leeway to share about BCEE, Black Coalition for Excellence in Education.
And thank you, Sharon, because the Black Coalition for Education, Excellence in Education, is a perfect example of activism and political engagement, and how people then can rally, bring our resources together. And again, this is voluntary. Nobody has spent any money. Okay, just showing up and letting people know who are in office that now hey, we're expecting you to answer to us. We're not just going to go back home and sit down, and we're letting you know what our concerns are. And now we're letting you know that we're not going to be happy until we get treated fairly, as Sharon just noted. That the studies show racism throughout. Well, it's ridiculous, people, to expect that somebody else is going to solve your problem for you. And so this is again where we show up and we say, hey, and we basically articulate and assert that which is important to us, and we represent it, and we take seriously what matters to us. And of all areas, I mean, every area that we address in our nonpartisan Black Voter Guide, all those areas affect all of our lives. Education has always been a key issue. That has been our ticket to success in this country. Our ticket to any kind of advancement. So, and it is also the mechanism by which our youth get developed and grow into from being children to responsible adults, or not. And we do recognize, I don't know if you all are aware, but it's the 3rd and 4th grade test scores that oftentimes are utilized and provided to public officials to determine how many prison cells they're going to need to build. Because when children fail at that level, guess what? The studies show that that's very predictive of whether or not they are likely to go on to criminal activity and therefore take a totally different route. We can't afford to let our young people continue to waste their lives that way and hurt society. So nobody benefits.
Right. Yeah, I'm getting excited like you are. Yeah. And let me tell you something else that our BCEE did was we had a fantastic parent workshop for advocacy and for Parent View, which is a tool that allows parents to monitor the success of their child, looking at report cards when homework is due and homework submitted and what have you. And there was a resource fair there also with community people and bringing information for the parents. The parents really appreciated this. And the students saw that their parents were very involved and interested as well. And this was about helping parents be advocates for their children.
Yes.
And which is we know it's key. So, listen out for the great things that BCEE will be doing. Listen out for the great things that we're continuing to try to do with the Black Voters Guide. As a matter of fact, coming up with the Black ballot, was really a little different for us compared to what we did with the Black Voters Guide, and we chose to do that, and we were able to do it in that avenue. But it was very helpful for people to just see the candidates and hear how they felt on issues, and the issues that we're still pressing are issues that our Black and brown students are having, and that our Black and brown parents are dealing with, because a lot of times they're overlooked. They're not given the correct information and whatnot. So thanks, Diane. I had to jump in there.
Oh, I'm glad you did, because again, we want to show, and inform you about the entire breadth of the work we're doing. And again, as Sharon mentioned, this is volunteer. We don't get paid to do this, but we get paid from the results that, just like Sharon was saying. In other words, the Black Coalition for Educational Excellence, they were able to amass some involvement and support of parents because they understood what's at stake. Stop and think about what's at stake. And getting back to the whole issue of voting, I like to use that phrase that says, vote like your life depends on it. And it does.
It does. And it does.
People. It does. So on that note, I'm going to again thank DJ Straight, Miss Lynette Booker, for inviting us to participate on her wonderful network, on her wonderful radio show. If you have any questions, just like as Sharon and I have already invited you to connect with us through Being Well While Black .org. Again, beingwellwhileblack.org. That's our website. And through the website, you can certainly contact us. And please feel free, if you have any questions, you can also submit any questions you may have. I'm not sure if you're able to do that by chat tonight, but if you have any questions, if you want to reach us, if you want to know more about the organization and what we're doing and other projects, and in particular, if you want to get involved, we would love to welcome you. We definitely can use more hands and feet for the 3 teams we have. We would love to expand this work. We don't have a team in Virginia. Right now, we have there's nobody representing Virginia in our organization or on our Black Voter Guide project. We would love to be able to extend our work in that arena and hopefully make it nationwide at some point. And as Karen also alluded to, we may also find different ways to promote our political activism and advocacy and political engagement. So there are a variety of ways we can do this. So we welcome fresh ideas, and also, and certainly we welcome any kind of resources to help us. And by resources, again, money's great, because it took money, for instance, for us to get guides printed in the 2022 election. This year, we raised a little money through, and another partner I want to mention who was instrumental in helping us do some fundraising was Mr. Lynn Dyson, who's the executive director of the Multimedia Training Institute. Again, I will call him a brother because he's truly a brother. He has a wonderful training, a 501c3 nonprofit that is dedicated to the mission of training young people in the technical skills related to video and stage production. Wonderful program. And through his, he tends to do a lot of programs that are historical and cultural in nature. So we were fortunate enough to partner with him on his play Zora, about Zora Neale Hurston.
Yes.
And he very generously offered us the opportunity to use that as a fundraiser. And we raised enough funds to hire the graphic designer that we used for this year's guide. So again, as you can imagine, we're going to need to do that again up in November, and we certainly will need funds, but also be prepared. Those of you who have any technical skills, social media skills, PR skills, I mean, those are the kind of skills that we need, folks. So please follow us, connect with us, get involved with us. We welcome you. And we certainly are open to new ideas and creativity and energy. And we know that as a people, hey, that's us all day long. We're an innovative people. We make a way out of no way. I mean, we are the innovators, and we're the trendsetters. So we're excited. Just as Sharon said, we're excited. Sharon, did you?
You know what I did? I think we have like 1 or 2 more minutes. So if I may. Just additional activism, and I wasn't even involved at that level, but the organization used Stacey Abrams' book. You did a study group, right, with Stacey Abrams' book, Lead from the Outside, in the beginning, and that's how we got Blacktivism, I believe, the terminology, coined the term. But we also, I was charged with trying to reach Stacey Abrams to get her involved with us or to have a session with us and the community with suggestions and ideas. So it didn't pan out. You know, she's now with Howard University, whatever, but things like that. We try to think of important people or activities or events and engagement that will get us moving and get things happening and get things done. So I just really want to share that as well.
Thank you for mentioning that, because we never know who knows who, okay? And so I think that it's very appropriate to put that call out there too. That's another way we can be assisted in terms of connecting us with your network and connecting us with people who can help us advance this work. So again, we, on behalf of all of our volunteers, our wonderful volunteers, our teams that participate with the Black Voter Guide Project, again, with our supporters, Greater DC National Action Network, as well as the Multimedia Training Institute, and certainly our other major lead, Valerie Davis, who basically is not here because her daughter's graduating from high school. Yay! So, and that's the only reason she's not here, because trust me, she'd be here otherwise. So, Ms. Booker, thank you so much again for extending this wonderful invitation to us. Folks, we look forward to connecting with you, because we want to partner with you in making lives better for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful evening, and we hope to hear from you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you so